Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're going to talk about the Janome 3160. Now, there are several different versions of this machine. The colors are different. This one happens to be the Quilts of Valor version. If you have one that looks a little bit different, it has the same keys, the same basic operations, and so what I'm teaching you today will apply also to your machine. So to start with, we're going to do a little overview. Over here, we have where you plug in the foot control and you plug in your power cord. Up here, you have your on-off switch. Up here's the hand wheel. Here's the bobbin winder spindle and the stopper for winding the bobbin. Over here, we have the handle and the spool pin. Over here, we have the guide for winding the bobbin, and then behind that is the guide for threading your machine. Here we have the tension dial, and of course here we have the threading path. This is the take-up lever. Now the take-up lever goes up and down as you're making a stitch. What the take-up lever does is it pulls up the excess thread as a stitch is being formed. Then we have the tension, the presser foot tension dial. Normally you leave it right here on 6, but sometimes you want to have a little bit less pressure on your fabric. Right now it's really hard to lift. If we have it over here on 1, it's really easy to lift. So normally, for most normal sewing, you leave it right here on 6 where that has the square around it. And then over here on the side we have a thread cutter, so when you're done, you lift up your presser lever like this, pull your fabric out, and you cut your thread. Here we have the needle threader, really nice feature for this machine. And then the presser foot is right here. You can remove the presser foot by pushing this little button like that, and your presser foot comes right off. Below the presser foot we have the feed dogs, and that's what moves your fabric along with each stitch. To put the presser foot back on, just put that right under there, matching up a little bar with the clamp, and there it goes. This little button here, I'll show you later, but what that does is it keeps the foot from rocking. So if you're starting or you're going over a thick seam, you can push that in and it'll help the foot glide over the seam. Then we have the needle plate, and the needle plate has lots of lines on it. The lines, if you want to, for instance, make a 5/8 inch seam, you can run the edge of your fabric along that 5/8 inch line, and you'll get the distance between the cut edge of your fabric and your seam. That's your seam allowance, 5/8 of an inch. Here we have the bobbin area. This little square, you push it to the right and you can lift up the cover. It has a picture of how to thread the bobbin. And you lift your bobbin out, there's your bobbin right there. On the back of the machine, there's a little switch here. I will show you. You move that switch, you can lower your feed dogs. Raise it back up, go like this, take a single stitch, and they come back up. Okay, and then you can take off your accessory tray, and here we have the free arm. Now that's really nice if you're going to be sewing like the hem on some pants. You can put the pant leg right around the free arm, and it gives you lots of room to do that. Your accessory tray, you open it like this, and you can put your accessories in there right like that. Here we have the start-stop button, and this is only going to work if you have the foot control disconnected. Up here it shows the foot control is connected. If we disconnect that, we can make the machine go by pushing the start and the stop. I'm going to reconnect that right there. And here is your reverse button, so if you want to sew in reverse, you can push that. As long as you hold it and push it, it will sew in reverse. Let it back up and it'll sew forward again. This is the locking stitch button. So what this does, when you push this at the end of your sewing, it's going to stitch in place and then stop. And when you use this, it's important to keep your foot down on the foot control until it's done doing that. That way it completes that stitch, and it will stop. When it stops, lift your foot off. This is the needle up, needle down button. So when you push this button here, your needle goes down. When you push it again, your needle comes up. This is the thread cutter button. I'm not going to do it right now because you should really only use the thread cutter button after you've actually sewn some fabric and it has some thread to actually cut. Here we have the speed slider, really nice feature on this machine. If you're trying to do something very intricate and very controlled, you want to have it a slower speed. Also, if you're teaching a child how to sew, good idea to start them out on slow, and that way they can push that pedal to the metal here and it's only going to go that fast, even if they're pushing it all the way down. So at the highest, of course, you can sew really fast. There we go. I'm going to leave it right there in the middle for now. And then these are your control buttons. These here will, like the side-to-side ones, will determine where the cursor is. So right here, it's on the numbers. The numbers are going to be these stitches right here. So you would select, say, for instance, 20. I would go over here to 20. So we got ones column and tens column. Think, basic arithmetic. If I was over here, let me go to like that again. I had both of them, and I pushed this twice, then I'd have 02, the second one. So that's something that you can kind of play with. You can figure out the best way to get to whatever stitch you want. This has 59 stitches. With the cursor under both of these, I can just push this down and immediately get to 59. Push it back up to 0, 0. Now your machine is going to wake up at 0, 0, which is your regular straight stitch when you first turn it on. Even if you had it in something previous, it's going to go back to default. Over here is a stitch width. You can see this little zigzag getting from narrow to wider. That's how you can adjust your zigzag. If you have, and a lot of these stitches can be adjusted as far as width. Some of them have an upper limit as to how far they can be adjusted. Here we have stitch length, making your stitches shorter or longer. For instance, if you wanted to do like a zigzag that's like a satin stitch, you'd want to have a very short stitch length, like that. Oh, well, that's stitching in one place. And then you could have your zigzag as nice satiny looking as you wanted to. To get it back to default, let's say I have changed both of these. Now in straight stitching, when you change width, you're not going to make that straight stitch wider, but you can move the needle over. So look down here, see how the needle's moving to one side or to the other side, depending on whether I push the up or down arrow. Right now, these are not the default settings for straight stitch. So I'm going to show you how to quickly get back into the default settings. Move this back over here, get out of that stitch, get back into it, and it puts it right back into default. So that's the basic overview of this machine. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, and if you have questions or comments, you can give us those in the box below. Also, we're going to have some more videos on this, so join us for those. Thanks for watching. Bye.